What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Trucking with Old Snapper, and I am Old Snapper. I got y'all head mounted to me. This is the same thing I use sometimes whenever I'm driving. Mounts to my head, so you get a POV. You get to see what I see. You know, and I was sitting here thinking about some things, but before I get into that, if you're new to the channel, smash that like and subscribe button. It really helps me out. It helps the channel out, and I do appreciate it a whole lot. So I don't really know what I'm going to title this video, because I was thinking about quite a few different things actually, and but I guess I'll start with this right here. You know, I got y'all looking out at the truck stop. Y'all see what I see, and there's a few things that are different from the way trucking used to be. And I'm talking probably pre-2010, pre-2011. Used to, at this time of night, especially, I'm in Odessa, Texas, by the way, up at the Loves in Odessa, Texas. At this time of night, you would see lot lizards, as they call it, all over the place. Like, it wouldn't just be one here or there. They'd be all over the place. Like, in the time I've been on this video, one would have already knocked on the door. And before I finished this video, probably 2 or 3 would have done knocked on the door. Some of the old drivers that have been around a long time, guys that have been driving since before 2012, can probably tell you about that. What's really sad though is, even us guys that didn't mess with them, it was entertainment to us. You know, it was entertainment to sit up in the front seat. You'd watch them go from truck to truck, and you might say, you know, oh crap, look, that Warner driver just let that girl up in there. You know, it was like watching the Kardashians, you know, drama right out your front window. You know, it was entertaining. And there was weird things that used to happen. I think I've told this story on YouTube before, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell it again, because there's a lot of new people and maybe you haven't heard it. I was in North Little Rock at the Petro one time. This guy let this girl up in the truck. Now, I didn't see where he was parked at, so I didn't see him let the girl in the truck. I caught the aftermath. The aftermath was freaking hilarious. All right, I'm parked over, like, not too far from the shop. All right, I'm trying to think of how that Petro's set up. Like, the back of my trailer was facing that road, not Interstate 40, but the road that you turn on to come down to the Petro. And then the shop is to my left, and the store is down to my left. All right, and then there were a couple rows of trucks in front of me, and then you had the back row up against the fence. All right, I believe that's kind of how it's set up. That's the general area I was in, sitting there just like I am right now, looking out the window, watching these girls go from truck to truck, jacking with them when they would come knock on my door. Of course, back in them days, I worked for Stevens. Even if I did want to mess with one, I couldn't afford it. I never had any money anyway. I was eating Vienna sausages and top ramen all the time, so it wasn't like I was going to be able to mess with one. But it was fun to mess with them when they would come to the door, and sometimes they would flash you. You know, I seen them, sometimes they didn't have anything on. They would just have a long jacket on. They would open up their jacket, just be butt naked. But anyway, back to my story. All right, ADD's getting me. I'm getting away from it. I'm sitting there chilling like I am right now, and all of a sudden, I hear the radio fire up, the CB. I used to leave my CB on because you could hear different things going on. It was all entertainment back then. And out of nowhere, man, this girl comes running from between some trucks, and she's got some stuff in her hand, which I later found out was his wallet and his cell phone. And she's got her shoes in her other hand, and she's in a dead run barefooted across that parking lot. Nobody's stopping her. I'm sure everybody else was laughing. I was laughing. And then just maybe 5, 6 seconds later, 10 seconds at the most, excuse me, somebody just messaged me, this guy comes running out from between the trucks, and all he's got on are boxers. He's a big old fat truck driver. His stomach is bouncing in the air. His man boobs are bouncing in the air, and he's in a dead run. Well, as much of a run as he could be in, chasing that lot lizard, trying to get his wallet and his phone back. Apparently she got him up in the truck, and she pulled the old okey doke on him. She robbed him. You know, that was one of the funnier things that I seen a lot of bad things happen as well. I was in Baltimore. I don't know if any of y'all remember this. I'm sure there's some people that watch my channel that were driving back in the day that probably remember this incident because it was pretty well known. I was in Baltimore parked. I wasn't near it. I was down a little ways away from where it happened at. But a guy picked up a lot lizard, and he let her in through the passenger door. And when she got in, instead of shutting the door behind her, she left it open or kicked it open or did something. But her pimp was hiding back there. So he came up and he jumped up in the truck. They robbed that truck driver and then shot the truck driver in the head. And that type of stuff happened all the time. You know, so it's kind of a trade, one for the other. We got safer truck stops now than what we had back then. But we don't have the entertainment that we had back then, and I kind of miss the entertainment. Look, it is boring. There's nothing going on out here. Nothing. Got a few guys walking by to go get showers, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it ain't nothing like it used to be. And I kind of wish the newer drivers had gotten to see what it used to be like, because it was a lot different out here. A lot more fun back then, in my opinion. It was also during those days that, like, hey, you know how you don't see any drivers outside their trucks? You know, this guy next to me, he's got his curtains closed. Most drivers are in their sleeper, and it's not that late. You know, I got my, so I can see what the screen sees, but it's what, 10:30 at night? It ain't really that late. You would see a few drivers out kind of in groups of 2 or 3 talking, sitting around smoking a cigarette, maybe having a beer, you know. But drivers talked to each other back then. We used to sit around and exchange stories, kind of like I do on my YouTube channel, how I talk about different things I've seen over the years. We used to sit around and do that, talk about different shippers or receivers, you know, and places that were bad, places that were good, places we enjoyed to eat. You know, we talk about different truck stops. There were all kinds of things we talked about and shared with each other back in those days. And you may never see those 2 or 3 drivers you're talking to ever again. But we still had a bond. It was like a club. To be a trucker was a club back then. And we may pick on each other and we may dog each other out, but we didn't let anybody from the outside world, you know, anybody that wasn't a trucker, do that. It's kind of like the military. You know, if you see soldiers and Marines and sailors and airmen, they'll pick on each other, but they won't stand for anybody else that's not a veteran or not in the service to pick on a service member. That's something they do. They're in the club. That's the way it used to be amongst truckers. And it may have been drivers we didn't like. Like, I used to meet guys and be like, I really don't like this guy. But I still would not let anybody outside of trucking mess with that guy. It wasn't going to happen. I know some of y'all that have been watching my channel for a while, you've heard me mention brotherhood, the brotherhood in trucking. You know, it was more like that back then. We didn't all like each other. We weren't always nice to each other. We used to talk trash to each other, get on the radio and talk trash to each other. But when it came down to it, we rode for each other. You know, we weren't going to let anybody come in this truck stop that wasn't from, you know, wasn't one of us, and do anything they weren't supposed to do, you know, other than the lot lizards, of course. But they were kind of providing a service to some of the lonely truck drivers, you know, per se. And I miss those days. Those are the days I miss. I'm gonna tell you something else I miss. I don't know if y'all can see it. I'll zoom in this video whenever I edit it. But right over there, you'll see some bobtails. There's 2 or 3 of them over there. All right, those are full trucking spots that they're parked in. I'm sitting here bobtail. This guy next to me is bobtail. All right. But where we parked at, it's a sectioned off area. It's got the little yellow stripes on the ground. A truck could not park here. A truck with a trailer could not park here. Where they're parked at, a truck and trailer can park. The Loves I'm at right now will let you park in the front, even bobtail. And it's got some more bobtail parking over to my left on the other side of these trucks on the other side of that shop. I think drivers get so used to parking in a truck spot, in a full spot, that when they're bobtailed, they don't think about it, and they'll just pull into a truck stop and just park take up a whole spot. Then at 1 o'clock in the morning, when the guy who's been driving all day long and tired, you know, he's counting on maybe there's an open spot in here. Maybe a driver got up at midnight chasing hours and took off, pulls in here, and he drives around through here looking for a spot. He can't find a spot. You know, so then he has to go get him something to eat and go park on the side of the road or park on the on-ramp or off-ramp over there. When he very well easily could have had a spot back there if those guys were considerate enough to think of their fellow driver. And that's the way it used to be. Nowadays, we got this attitude. It's like, don't worry about them, worry about yourself. Don't worry about where them drivers are parked at. Worry about yourself. Man, I get that, and that's a good way to be in a lot of situations. But at the same time, being inconsiderate of your fellow drivers is not good either. And that does need to be worried about. Now, am I going to walk over there and tell them anything? Nah, I don't give a shit, because I'm not parking. But I tell you what I have done is, if it was me coming in here at 1 o'clock in the morning, I would wake them up. I've done it. I'll try to wake them up. I'll beat on the door until someone gets up. I've been cussed out. I've had guys threaten to get out of their trucks. Nobody ever does, but I've had them threaten to get out of their trucks. And usually the end result, though, is they move. Every now and then I'll run across a driver that's considerate, and they're like, oh, hey man, yeah, let me get out of your way, because they know they can pull out of there. They can either park two to a slot, or they can come over here and park in one of these other bobtail parking spots, or he can go up into the front and park up there, and he can move around without setting his log off in this parking lot and find a better spot. Me personally, and this is the difference between an old school truck driver and a new school truck driver. When I pulled in here just bobtail, knowing I was going to be here for the night, this truck stop was empty. It was earlier today, because I'm going to do a restart here. And I specifically looked for a spot that I could put my truck that would not hold up a truck and trailer spot. Somewhere that a truck and trailer would not fit. It may be one of you guys watching this video right now. May pull in here sometime tonight looking for a spot, tired and just ready to go to bed. You're not going to find old Snapper holding up a whole spot with just my bobtail, when I can literally park a bobtail anywhere. And normally I wouldn't even be in a truck stop. I parked here because I got a free shower. I want to use my free shower. Normally I try to park away from a truck stop. Like, I'll park at a strip mall, closed down grocery stores. You know, I'm out in West Texas. There's plenty of places to park with a bobtail. You can pretty much park in the dirt anywhere. It's just naturally made for truck parking. And the reason I do that is because I'm around trucks all the time. So when I'm bobtail, I don't have to be. So I try not to be if I don't have to be. You know, it's kind of like a reprieve from trucking. I feel like I'm getting away from it when I park somewhere else where there are no trucks. It's almost like I'm getting a day off. When I'm parked in a truck stop, I don't feel like I'm getting a day off. Not that I don't love you guys. I love you guys, but it's nice to get away from trucks. And those of y'all that have been driving for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you don't want to see a truck. You just want to get away from it. But hey, it is what it is. Something else I was going to talk about, man. I'm out here in Odessa. Of course, I just finished my first week of doing this back in the oil field thing, hauling chemicals out here, all over West Texas, mainly for fracking sites. It's chemicals they pump down in the well when they're fracking a well. And I heard a youngster, I'm gonna say a youngster because he couldn't have been driving long to have made the statement that he made, but he said, man, he said, oil field's really picking up. He said, it's booming out here. And myself and a couple of other guys kind of looked at him funny, and we had to explain to him. And I can always tell when a driver's new. I can tell the same thing over the road. You know, over the road when a driver's new, they're like, I see lot lizards. There's still lot lizards around. Lot lizards are nothing like they used to be. If you think lot lizards now are anything like they used to be, I know you haven't been driving very long. I know for a fact that you haven't been driving since before 2012, because that's when it ended. That's when the lot lizard flood ended, was in 2012. You know, so it's the same thing over here in the oil field. I remember the oil field when it was booming. I was out here when it was booming. You know, I did rig moves and all that kind of stuff when it was booming. I remember what it was like. And like right here, there'd be trucks everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And you wouldn't see all these over-the-road trucks and all these dry boxes and reefers. They weren't in here. It'd all be oil field. That's all it was in here. There's not very many oil field related trucks in this truck stop. And I'm in Odessa. I'm in the heart of the oil field for Texas. You know, it's West Texas. Not only that, but when we were, like, I was trying to think of how to explain it. Back in the day when it was booming, when you were driving down the interstate, or you're driving down 385 or one of the back roads around here, you could look out across a field and it would literally be one oil well after another drilling. You would see derricks. That's all you see is derricks. You couldn't even count them. There were so many of them. And it would look like little miniature cities. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them for as far as you could see. Now, you can walk out there and you might not see any. You might drive down 385 and maybe see one or two. It ain't nothing like it used to be. And the water trucks that were pulling the water off the wells, the crude oil tankers, the rig moving companies, the frac sand companies, you would drive down the back roads, like going to the lease roads to go out to these wells, and it would be bumper to bumper traffic. I remember when Odessa was bumper to bumper traffic all the time. Driving in Odessa back then was no different than driving in Houston or Dallas. That's how much the oil field has crashed. It's nothing like what it used to be. Now, yes, there is some work out here, and there, you know, you can come out here and get some work. There's a few people hiring and different stuff like that, but it is nothing, nowhere near what it used to be. So you can listen to a driver talk and know about how long they've been doing what they're doing, right? So you listen to an oil field hand, you listen to him talk, and you can tell by what he says and the different things he says or she says, and you know, oh, he ain't been out here that long. Same thing with an over-the-road trucker. When they talk about lot lizards, or they talk about different truck stops that used to be around. An old school driver, we remember the mom and pops. When I first started driving, there was mom and pops all over the country. And that's where drivers preferred to stop back then. We kind of shunned the mainline truck stops. I call them mainline. That'd be your Pilot, Flying J, Petro, Loves, and TA. And of course, back then, they were all separate. Like now, Pilot and Flying J is the same company. I remember whenever that merger happened. Back then, they were two separate companies. Same thing with TA and Petro. They were two separate companies. And believe it or not, back in those days, Love's was the smallest of the mainline truck stops. You know, it's only been in the last few years that Love's blew up like it did. It just started building they started building them everywhere. I call Love's the Dollar General of trucking. Because you know how they'll put a dollar store in the middle of nowhere? They got two roads intersect, they'll throw a dollar store right there on the corner. Love's is doing the exact same thing. I often wonder if the same person owns a dollar store also owns the Love's, because they got the same business plan, man. Right at now, I can't complain, because you'll run across Love's truck stops, and there's times I've ran across them when I really needed to stop and get something to drink, or use the restroom, or maybe park it for a little while, take a nap. And it has come in handy, the fact that Love's will throw a truck stop up anywhere. I mean, absolutely anywhere. You can be driving. I've driven back roads and ran across Love's truck stops in little towns. You know, Love's don't discriminate. They're not like a Pilot or Flying J or Petro or TA. They try to stay to your bigger towns for the most part. Love's don't care. If you got an open space and they can put 50 trucks on it, they're about to buy that spot. They're going to throw a Love's up there, guaranteed. Now, the one thing Love's does that does kind of drive me nuts is Love's also has regular gas stations. And I have had times when I'm driving in the middle of nowhere and I do want to stop and I'll see that Love's off in the distance, and I'll think, oh, yeah, there's the Love's coming up. I'm gonna stop there. And then when you get up there, it's a car stop. It's a regular gas station. It's not a truck stop. I wish they used a different sign altogether for the car stops. Not even the same colors. Just make it a totally different color. Make it blue with white lettering or something. You know, that way it doesn't get my hopes up when I'm riding in the middle of nowhere and I see that Love's out there. Anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough. I just wanted to I was sitting here thinking, looking out the window, and I was like, you know, this would be a good topic for YouTube. This would be something good for the viewers to hear. You know, I got a good mix of viewers. I got a lot of people that have been driving for years. I got some that are new. I got some that have been driving for a few years. And what I used to do on this channel was tell stories. That's what I did. I used to talk a lot about how it used to be out here and tell some of the war stories from back in the day. And I still like to do that every now and then. And I thought this would be a pretty good topic for y'all. I appreciate y'all. If you've hung around to this point, well, you must have enjoyed the video. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop a comment down below, and let me know how long you've been driving. You know, I'm curious, out of the audience here, the people that watch my videos, how long they've been driving. And it's y'all take care, stay safe, and let's keep trucking.